Hello, everyone. This is Ed Brenniger, and welcome to the Eddie Network podcast. I am very pleased to present to you an old friend of mine, Bernd Nürnberger, who we met almost 2 decades ago through an enterprise that Seth Godin put together called Tribes. It was that first great online community. And I think when it finally ended, he had like 16,000 people in that online group. And this is before Zoom and before a lot of the programs that we have now for communication and stuff like that. So it was a pretty remarkable thing. And my salute to Seth for creating it, and I appreciate him very much for the leadership that he brought to our world early on when all this was just beginning. So, Baron, welcome, and I'm so glad to see you. And tell us a little bit about who you are and about your life and what's going on with you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's an honor to meet you again. This book brought us together, and I'm still in Japan. I came here in 1986, working for a company that does not make products. We break products, expensive and confidential prototypes for safety testing. That was most of my work. In between, I built management system as a new service. I was a quality manager for the company, built up the regional group, what we call Group Asia. We were 27 in Japan and 3 in Taiwan in 86. 30 people. 20 years later, we had grown to 3,000.
Wow.
So that was following market trends, but this also meant a lot of training and coaching people. 25% of our employees were new, at least new in Japan or in Asia. And that became my pivot point when retiring neared and on the horizon a few years before. I thought, what do I do later? I don't stop working, because my philosophy is I work so that I don't need a vacation. I can use a vacation as a bonus. So I did not overwork. I did not burn out. Done a lot of innovation. And 24, I decided maybe coaching might be close to something I might do in the future. So I signed up for a coaching course, and only then I realized I had been in-house coach all my career. So okay, good fit. That was a combined coaching and business consulting. 4 months online course. Return to the basics basically. And then came the question, coaching what? And we'll come to that a bit later, because let's go through the past, and this gives us the future.
So you've had a very unusual career, because you've been in Japan all this time, and you're married to a Japanese woman, correct?
Right. 2 years in, I decided now I find my wife. And this decision has a precedent. The decision to live in Japan. Here's how it happened. I think it was late August. I was on a business trip to southern Japan, to Fukuoka, testing a copy board. They had to change something. I found something that needed change, but they fixed it. Next day was okay. And the customer brought me back to the airport in a taxi, and speaking zero Japanese, I was just hearing how these people spoke to each other. And I noticed it sounded so friendly. So I asked him, do you know the taxi driver? No, why? And that moment I realized, hey, this is how people treat each other here, everywhere. I had heard it everywhere, did not understand the words, but the heart speaks. Yeah. I could listen to that. It was a very clear signal. So that, waiting for the airplane, I decided I stay here. So that was 2 months in. It was a big decision. It was driven by intuition. because I started thinking about it and I realized you will never have enough data to make such a big decision. So might as well use intuition, leave it at that.
Yeah.
And I was fine with it. No doubting, no overthinking, just left it at that. And that was the precedent, how I stayed here. I did not tell the company yet, because who makes such a big decision after 2 months? Yeah. So I waited another 2 months and then went to the president. The local president said, hey, I would like to stay here. Oh, great, we need the people. Yeah. Okay, so they were prepared. They paid. Before that, I was sent to Japan for 6 months because I wanted to work abroad. Early in '86, I started working at head office in Germany for the same company, and I had a second contract. First contract was for training, second contract was to work in the US. And when they sent me to Japan, I said, I don't speak Japanese. No worry, it's all business in English. Okay, fine. So I decided to stay here, started innovation for the company, because they had we had a problem, simple logistics problem. We had, for example, the pre-printed certificate paper from Germany, and we had secretaries who had a typing system with the IBM Selectric print head.
Yeah.
Some people know what that is. It's a ball head that rotates and puts the correct letter on the paper. It looks nice. They had huge floppy disk, like the 8-inch variety, that as big as a dish on the table, like a plate. And yeah, this, as engineers, we drafted, copy-paste was really the word at the time, because we cut out the paper and pasted it on the pre-printed form where what information goes. Then the secretaries typed it up, we got the draft, corrected in red, and the next time we came back from business trip, all the corrections were done, but there were no errors in there, which we never understood because they had the file on these floppy disks. So at some point in the meeting, we were 10, almost 20 people. The boss asked, who has computer programming experience? Because we want to replace the secretaries, we want that the engineers can make their own certificate. He thought that would be a good idea. I was a youngster in the room. I looked around, nobody showed up, so after a while I have done some programming. Okay, make a system that the engineers can print the licenses on their own, so the secretaries can do other work and we save some time. So I had a task. Who can help me? Annie Chang. Annie Chang is from Taiwan, and she helped me months earlier when I was lost in Omotesando, a famous station in Tokyo, looking at this route board, everything written in these Chinese characters, kanji. And someone in very good English asked me from behind, can I help you? Yes, how do I get to whatever the station is? And she pointed it out and told me the fare. So I was ready to go. We exchanged name cards, and she was working in a computer shop. So I called her up. I have a task here. I want to build a system that engineers can do printing their own licenses. We have about 10 engineers in this field for the first group. She asked me a question that surprised me, because I thought I'd buy a computer. She said, no, what software do you want to use? Before we decide on a computer, what software do you want to use? Well, tell me, what's available, what could do this task? We ended up selecting Ashton Tate, famous maker of DBase at the time, had a pre-Windows program that could do Windows on DOS. On this 80 by 25 character screen, you could draw a frame. Not draw, you could specify it. And the frames were ideal to position the data on this for this pre-printed form. So that's what we took. Took some programming, lots of test printing and measuring with an inch ruler until everything fit into place. But step by step I solved this, made a program, made a customer database, all on floppy disk, bought 10 more computers for the team, and we had a sneak on it. which means you carry the floppy by hand, and every now and then somebody yelled, "Who has a customer disk?" And then people came running. So that was what we built when it was still difficult with these computers. You needed to know a lot. And that leads to the story how I met my wife. In Tokyo, not far from that station, they had a self-help group for computer buffs from abroad. No support in Japan. If you buy an IBM AT, which I did, $8,000 at the time, IBM did not support computers here. Nobody knew how to do it. So the self-help group was essential, Tokyo PC User Group. And I had a girlfriend in Japan, and we went traveling, and it was nice. But I sensed she would not introduce me to her parents, so she was not a candidate for marriage. So we parted on good terms, and there I was waiting at the computer group, waiting for my colleague who would take over this computer system. And he was a bit late, and I thought, now I find my wife. Same intuition. No data, nothing. I only sense, don't start thinking about it. Leave it there softly. Put it there softly. And didn't think about it much until I paid my fee for the meeting. And there was this secretary who took my money, and I thought, afterwards when you go to Shakey's Pizza, and I want to talk to her. So meeting ended, we went to Shakey's Pizza. Another guy wanted to sit next to her. I decided, I sensed, it's now or never. Yeah, how do I move him away? I managed that, and we started talking. We ended up marrying 18 months later. That's the short of the story. But in between, there's a bit of a stepwise progress how we got there. But you want to ask a question, I think.
This is sort of a part two of Lost in Translation, that Sofia Coppola film with Bill Murray and Stephanie Johansson, and they're both in Tokyo on business trips, and she's with her husband, but her husband's off doing stuff, and she's just there in the hotel. I mean, they have this relationship that begins because they're both in Japan, and they're not Japanese, and it's a kind of a classic intergenerational friendship that forms, and it's a great movie, Lost in Translation. But that's what your story reminds me of how do people meet, and you have used the word intuitive or intuition many times, and so before you came to Japan, and you growing up, did you have this sense of being a very intuitive person? Was that something that you grew up with any sense of?
Not so much. I have not asked myself this question. I had intuition as a 16-year-old, like walking home from school through a field about a kilometer to the bus station. I was by myself and thought, what if I could invent... I was already a bit on the engineering trip. So what if I could invent a machine that makes energy without needing fuel? And a big thought hit me, don't do this, you'll be killed. To this day, I don't know where it came from. But I decided, okay, let's put that on the back burner, but ended up studying engineering and braking products as a safety tester.
Where in Germany did you grow up?
In Cologne.
Oh, in Cologne. Okay.
Yeah. So in the northernmost village that is still within the city of Cologne, famous for having its own, what's it called? Rose Monday procession. Carnival procession. No other part of the city has, because the central one is the center of attention. But this is so far out. They were allowed to continue the old tradition, local, on the same day. And way to school was 7 kilometers, mostly by bus, later by bicycle, or when weather allowed. That was high school, Gymnasium in German. And that's where I was as a teenager, unsure of myself, but that was an impressive experience. Yeah.
When you decided, when you accepted the position to go to Japan for this company, what did your family think of that?
Family has a bit of a broken history. My father is divorced, and my mother. I later found out my mother influenced the children. We were 3 of us against the father. So when I started studying and I lived on my own, I decided to contact him after so many years. After all, he paid for my upkeep. Was forced to by court ruling.
Right.
And we met, and he was good, much better to work with and live with than this a bit hysterical woman who he left. And we disagreed on many things, so I dropped the contact. I didn't want it anymore. And so my father was okay. Well, do whatever you want. Yeah.
So there was some support there for, 40 years ago, leaving a country and moving to a foreign country, and not just a foreign country, but an Asian country from a Western European country, that's pretty dramatic.
Let's say it's pretty rare.
Rare.
That's why the company was very happy I wanted to be there, because nobody from Germany of any standing saw their career in this direction. Yeah. So
40 years ago, that would have been the 1980s, and that's only 40 years after the end of the Second World War, and so that was still a very major presence in the world. What had transpired during that war.
I only had one memory. About that. Being in the subway, going on the way back home, there was a Japanese elderly guy standing next to me. He looked at me. Where are you from? Germany. Oh, next time without the Italians.
Oh, that's
it takes some background to get this.
Yeah. Highly intuitive too. So
yeah. But
that's great. That's from the moment that I met you, knowing that you're a German that's living in Japan and married to a Japanese woman, I was impressed by that, simply because of that to me was an expression of freedom, that you had the freedom to decide, I'm going to go do things that are not expected of me. And
yes.
And that freedom to me is really an important facet of just being a flourishing human being.
This is a new thought now. I had not seen it this way, but freedom indicates straight on, yes, I was free to do that. And my career in the company involved 6 major innovations. I felt free to do that. Yeah.
Wow.
So I made proposals, I got support. The printing system was one of them. That led me to find my wife. And
so in a sense, you have lived a life that a lot of people never find, because they feel confined by the structures of the work that they do, and they're not really free to go innovate or try new things.
Well, the work I do is very structured. It's bounded by conformity assessment, rule set, and accreditation requirements, and the technical standards for the equipment. So it's very systematic, needs to be repeatable, verifiable, everything transparent, impartial. Don't give advice to the clients, because then you test your own work, basically.
So here's my question. So if you have this system that you have, and you felt like the system needed to change, would you be free to change that system? Say this is not
Very,
working.
very carefully. It's the foundations and the basic rules are beyond what I can change.
Mm-hmm.
But interpretation, for example,
Yeah.
it didn't take long until I was when I was teaching. Yeah, also sometimes customers when they are new, they need explanation more, or new colleagues. This thing about inspector or test engineer's impartiality. You do not give advice to when a customer fails something. You cannot tell them how to fix it. Multiple reasons, among them you may have seen the solution at a competitor's product without fully remembering, so don't pass on competitive knowledge. And formally you become part of the design team if you do that, and they treat you like this. But you said this and this, why don't you accept it now? Yeah, so if later there's any issue with it or somebody gets injured. So don't give advice. What you can do, and I took care to find the exact limit, what you can do is give publicly available references. Mm-hmm. Like if there's a book that describes a solution, here, look at that, or later internet, read this and this and this. Or what I also can do is interpret standard requirements. Like what does it mean, give examples of a neutral kind, but not specific advice how to fix something.
Well,
so
that makes perfect sense to me. And
there's you cannot be neutral if you engage as part of on the other side of the team. The creator and the tester need to be independent. No conflict of interest.
I mean, the way I'm hearing this is that the system is respected, so the system cannot be compromised. And I find that I've seen it in situations where there is a system, but it gets compromised because someone just doesn't like it, or someone wants someone to benefit, or someone wants someone to be disadvantaged because of some personal slight or something. I see the politics of these systems as a real thing. And what you're saying is that if you respect the system, then you're not going to violate the system, and you're not going to use it for personal advantage.
Cannot. I mean, the company I used to work for, still I'm on contract, is more than 150 years old, and a symbol of independent third-party inspection and testing. So they get paid by the customers, but not for the results. You cannot buy a certificate. It's my decision, or whoever does a review. And this freedom is respected among the people who work together. And it is a big part of the know-how and sense of family among the people who do similar jobs. So we have a high trust environment.
So you are free to say no.
Yes. If I decide no, and if the customer doesn't like it, he can talk to the colleague or to the seniors, or if they don't like it, they can go to the accreditation body and file a claim, and then a neutral third party again can make a solution.
I had a client meeting, now it's probably been 6 years ago, where I have this impact day process that I take people through, a lot of questions that kind of clarifies who they are and what they want, that sort of thing. We put a plan together, and I was spending a day with this woman, and we were about 3 hours into the day, and she became energized by feeling like so many things were imposed upon her, these social expectations about her as a mother and as a businesswoman, as a wife, and she felt like she was obligated to say yes to so many things. And and particularly at school, there were fundraising things at school, and and they wanted the parents to become involved in the program of the fundraiser, come to this event, things like that. And she says, it just got really tiresome. He says, why not, just do the fundraiser, but just say, give us a check, just give us a check. I'll be happy to give you a check, that sort of thing. And so as the conversation unfolded, what became apparent is that the need to say no was because of a value that was being imposed upon her by some outside entity. And so the goal was for us to identify what are the values that are most important for you that you're going to say yes to. And because you can say yes to those values, you can say no to the imposition of values which you cannot accept. And so in doing that, I ended up writing a short book called May Your No Be a Yes. And it's all about elevating your own value system so that you have a sense of who you are and a sense of how you can manage the competing demands of people and institutions in modern life.
That's a good value system to have.
And it's hard to achieve that for a lot of people.
Yeah, maybe I was lucky.
Well, I think your personality is well suited to what you've done.
That's fair to say. It was a good match. Where was I? Improvements. So the way of improvement, I can say it now. At the time I did not have a sense for it, but now my sense is I can see in situations what is not there but could be. And this means I need to understand the whole background and why are we doing things and where are the rules, and let me read it for myself. And then I see, there's some mismatch here, and there's misinterpretation, or people have conflicting objectives, and how do we sort this out? And so I made this computer system for the company. Next one, I made an electronic test report. Reason being, the test report was a copy of the standard, made smaller on a copy machine that could zoom in a little bit, or zoom out in this case, so you have a margin you can write into. Our master copy had highlighted the keywords, so you had quick orientation. The standard at the time had about 300 requirements, and so in 2-3 days you got through there and filled with the notes at the side, big marks for failed something, or in red. And it didn't take long until customers wanted a copy of the test report because it was recognized in other countries. The international system was just starting. Today there's called CB scheme, an international system of mutual recognition among all the member states for electric product approval. At the time it did not exist, but our test report was valuable. So for the test report we could charge $1,000, and it was basically a copy. But for me it was more. It was 2-3 hours of rewriting, because if I'm testing and write quickly, I cannot read my own handwriting. So this bothered me, and I had this computer and I had some programming, so I thought, what if I use Framework for the test report? So I went to the boss and said, good idea. When do you do this? Yeah, weekends. Okay, it's paid. Got a special agreement, extra pay. I was still single, we were not married yet. And so I was programming, and if I was in the flow, I made progress, and if I did not make progress, I took the motorbike, went to the beach or something, and honestly wrote up the hours and so on. 3 months later, we could make an electronic test report.
It sounds to me like you're an engineer, and so you have that technical ability to see the system as it is, as an abstraction.
As a concept. Yeah.
But it sounds like also that you have an intuitive sense of the system as it actually works. And that's a different thing than seeing the system as it's designed. But seeing it as it works is a different sort of thing. And that's what you're getting at through this testing, is to see how does this thing work. And it sounds like your intuitive intelligence let me call it that, intuitive intelligence, has been very well served in the work that you've been doing.
Well, part of testing is reading the diagram and finding critical faults. What if components fail? A single component failure must not result in electric hazard or in fire or smoke. So you go through the diagrams where the power goes, mostly power supplies is the most critical, and say, okay, what if this fails? What if that fails? Some other component blows up, or a fuse opens, or sometimes a transistor explodes. Yeah, what's the result? And then in the standard there is fault testing is required, which is destructive. That's why I say I break products. And additional testing like electrical safety or what is happening. One time, maybe you know these big electrolytic capacitors in some of the devices. Mm-hmm. And they have a bit of liquid in them. So once we had a test where one of these capacitors opened and the whole power supply was wet inside, could not pass a high voltage test anymore. So additional safeguard needed to prevent this from happening, because that was a single fault result. So digging into a system, finding how it works, where the critical parts are, has been my training over and over and over in practice.
Do the systems designers ever talk with you directly?
Mostly it's the quality people, but if they cannot explain something, they ask the designers, and then I talk to the designers. Like, how is this? Where is the safeguard? What happens if you do that? Saves a lot of testing time if you can get an explanation that you can accept. Yeah.
So what do you think the effect of AI will be on this world that you've been a part of?
Well, I tried in the last year, in the last 2 years in the company. They started early, 23. They had an in-house AI policy, being never give customer data on into the cloud. So they ran an in-house AI, and at the time it was ChatGPT 3.5. It did not even know standards. I asked it about laser standards, and it gave me one of them that wasn't a laser standard. So it gave me a number among them. I said, okay, this is. I quoted from the standard I had on my desk. This is the correct standard. Oh, apology. Yes, correction. Next day I asked the same question. The system did not learn. I got the exact same error. So that was the first experience. Tried over a year to teach it to analyze a test report. I got it so far that you could check a table of components and a measurement table and tell me if anything was duplicate or missing or overdressed on either side. I got the summary report. That was my first success. You give it a little chunk of data, not the whole test report, cannot do it, a chunk of data and a specialized prompt question that took a while to develop, but then I got reliable results. Today, I treat it like an apprentice. First day on the job, you need to explain a lot of detail, give all the context, best add an example, this is how I want it, and then let it go, and then check the results carefully. And tomorrow is again first day on the job. So I get predictable results now. Recently I did like a rewrite for a quality manual. Upload the standard, upload the old manual, and said rewrite this manual so it fits into all requirements, addresses all requirements in the standard. This takes time to follow up. And write it so every shell in the standard is an is statement for the company. And that is a draft, and then we can check, okay, are you doing this way?
That's really fascinating. And I think what you're describing is what I've seen from other people or heard from other people, that you're training your AI to serve you,
right?
Instead of you becoming the servant of the AI. And
no.
You have to be, but you have to be clear about that. I mean, you have to be intentional about that.
Right. AI is programmed to be very helpful, sometimes overly so.
I found that to be true.
Yeah, it tells you what you want to hear, and this is not what I need. Yeah.
I don't need a coach.
Right, yeah. But I need a method that works for more complex topics is I need to do this and this, ask me questions so that we get there. Yeah. And then it comes up with pretty useful questions, and I can, for example, design a website under this guidance. Yeah. Or what did I do the other day? My first building a skill. I needed a table to compare the tax rates in Japan for self-employed people. There's two schemes, a blue scheme and a white scheme. And at the time there was a new function, so I had free credits for that, to build a skill actually. And it made, or it's somewhat like what they call vibe programming. I have never done this, but you describe your task and it builds a computer program, and it's still on the web. There is a tax calculator that looks to me realistic. Problem with AI is, if it does something that's beyond my capability, I cannot assess it's correct or not. It works right at the edge, and that's where it gets dangerous, where the ice goes thin and you can easily fall into it without any warning before. And where you're expert already, you don't need AI. So that's what are you really working on is a key question.
That is a very key question, and I think a lot of people are not. They may be good at writing prompt, but they're not good at asking questions, and there's a difference there.
Right. I have received. This was another. What is it called? The training company behind Seth Godin. They make seminars also about AI, and from one of the seminars, a guy posted on LinkedIn how to find out your stance, how you work with AI. There's a short prompt, I can share that later. Ask me 3 questions that show how I work with AI, and then give me a summary without evaluation. And I tried the 3 AIs I use regularly. There's some differences and some similarities. One was I use it to expand my reach and horizon. Yeah. Use it as a sparring partner, this kind of things. Yeah, that's what I do, but creep onto the thin ice without breaking in. That's what I try to do.
Yeah. I see it for me in what I do, that it is being able to take a massive amount of data and simplify or summarize it into a set of ideas that help me to see, in particular, the stuff I've written, what the main themes are,
Mm-hmm.
and what I should be, and then it leads to, so what do I do with this? And it's been helpful in that regard for basically clarifying my own thinking, which and I know what I think, but I want to see if it can identify what I think. And in some cases, it identifies what I'm thinking, but it doesn't understand the relationship between these different things that I'm thinking. And so the emphasis is off. You know, the weight of importance is off. And that's important to me because because it causes me to ask, am I off in that regard? Am I emphasizing one set of ideas that I have a lot of different ideas? Am I emphasizing ideas that really are only satisfying to me and really not helping anybody? AI can't really answer that for me in the way that I need to ask it. So at least at this point, I haven't found it. That's because it's going to tell me what it thinks. It wants me to be happy. That's
right. This is the danger with it, yeah.
And I'm using Claude, and I know it wants me to be happy, and I don't want it to feel like it needs to make me happy. I actually want it to make me. I want it to disturb me. So
you can instruct it.
Yeah, I know that.
Review this draft and show what is duplicate, missing, overlapping, unclear. and does a pretty decent job about it.
Yeah, I found that to be true as well. So,
But it cannot. My working definition for intelligence is being able to discern relative importance. And this you can only do when you have a value system.
there
and
you go.
priorities.
I totally agree.
And so priorities. AI sometimes is so stupid. I asked it, for example, to summarize, which is normally good, a concept for a new product into a sales letter for the company. And I caught it reading, I caught it reversing the role of client and our company in the text, straight on, straight-faced, wrong. Yeah. So I thought, it does not understand. It predicts the next word, and it sometimes it fits into the sequence, and if it doesn't fit to the sequence, it does not notice.
So it doesn't understand relationships. It understands transactional relationships, contractual relationships.
Yeah, also, even sequence. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it going from A to B or B to A? It mixes this up.
Yeah.
Maybe the newer versions are better with this, but well, that was about 2 years ago. And I thought, that's now we are at the limit, of trust also. Yeah.
Well, you have started a new endeavor.
Right.
Tell us about that.
How did I get there? Let me start with that. Retirement was nearing. I had done coach training. I thought, okay, I go to German, but left it at that. I did not know which way or so. No, actually not. I did not know what for. And then I looked at my list of 3 most important questions. What do I want to experience? Where do I want to grow? What do I want to contribute? And on the experience side, I had one white spot, being able to speak Japanese. I've done 40 years here with basic broken emergency Japanese. I could direct a taxi, I could complain in a shop, but conversation, no way. Yeah. So musing about this, what do I do about this? Decided I want to do something, did not push into any thinking what and how. A post on LinkedIn caught my eye. Learn Japanese in 2 months, speaking only. Oh, that sounds better than textbooks or grammar or vocabulary. Speaking only is what I need. Contacted a lady named Terumi, interviewed me, I signed up, and tried this coaching. It is once a week, one-on-one coaching on the topics that I select. So I always get asked, what is your goal? And need to name something. It's okay, I want to be able to introduce myself. I want to be able to greet neighbors on the street. I want to be able to talk about the cat while we go out with our cat and so on. So step by step, practicing phrases, and like a child does. You get it in context and you understand it better than if you break it apart and study each element by itself. Study did not help much. Short end of the story, 3 months later I went to my key client of 10 years and did a whole work day in Japanese.
Wow.
And they did not even comment. So it went quite natural. I know the technical vocabulary for many years, so that was not a problem. And I had enough of the grammar and sentence structures and so on to get the testing done in Japanese. But with a team that knows me, of course, for 10 years. But hey, that I thought that was success. And then after that, this coaching and German came together and say, this method, this focus on speaking, learning what you need, and build up the skill phrase by phrase. In between, every day, 10 minutes practice, learn one phrase until you speak it easily. There's a method to that madness I come to a bit later. But that was the foundation of where I thought, okay, let me make a proposal to Terumi-san about their practice book. They call it textbook. My version is called practice book. How this could look in German. The method is great. This is how I would do it in German. I made 1 page and said, here, yeah. Okay. I got the request to translate their 4-level textbooks into German. somehow she was learning German as a fourth language, and so that, oh, okay, we made a deal. And as I was making this textbook, of course, it's not only translation. I had my AI tools for this purpose, made AI tools that needed explanation and culture and nuance, and to avoid the traps that are between languages. So I built the first book. At the time I thought, okay, maybe we make a German branch or something. Later I thought I would be co-founder. End of 25, my son was here, I was explaining what I'm doing, and I realized, oh, I must be founder. And that was the agreement with Tenemisan. We made a method license agreement that her AI and her specialists looked over. My AI I did a due diligence on as far as I can, and that's the agreement now. And so her company is called Japan Language Factory. It's now 11 years old. They have 10 full-time coaches, 5,000, she calls them students. I don't use this word. They are learners. We don't study language, we learn it. And so the system is proven. That gave me the confidence to license it, and I now have the license for the Learn German from English language pair. So
Fantastic.
I'm building a system that anyone can duplicate for any other language pair. I have a second coach already. Terumi is my first client. We have next German lesson on Monday. And her hobby is going to Germany on Autobahn with fast cars, which you cannot do in Japan. The speed limit is like 55 miles here. And so that's what she does for hobby. And yeah, I can explain cars in German, no problem. So that's what we are doing.
You go to the Nürburgring?
Maybe at some point she might, but I recommend against it. There's too many amateurs, and you can easily overdo it. Yeah.
It's a dangerous place, but yeah. Well,
Yeah.
that's fascinating. So let me ask you this: if you can learn to speak it, is the step to learning to read it simpler?
Yeah, because you can a bit predict what should come next.
Uh-huh.
And if you have uncertainty in one, like in the reading part, you can balance this to a degree.
So would it be more difficult to learn to read German or read Japanese and then move?
Japanese reading is way more difficult.
Yeah.
Almost as bad as English, because English has no consistent spelling. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
There's 3,000 ways of pronouncing the alphabet. Yeah. So Japan has about 3,000 kanji you need to be able to read the newspaper. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Wow, that's really fascinating. So, well, that sounds like an exciting new dimension to your life.
Right. Yeah. It fits little by little. I develop it. Today I worked on an assessment sheet for newcomers, like why self-assessment part of it, and then when you get into a meeting, you already have a bit of a background what the person wants to achieve, and whether coaching is right for them. Yeah, I don't have to sell. I have runway enough, and anyway, it works only for the person who wants it. No push.
So let me be clear in my question. So anyone who is an English speaker can come to you and learn how to speak German. Is that what we're saying?
That is.
So it's
And
not,
if you
not limited to people in Japan. This is
anyone. This is remote, like we are doing. Yeah.
okay. Well, it's important to make that distinction so that people, because what I would love to see is people reaching out to you and you coaching them on how to speak German. And I
Do you know any German?
no.
Do you want to?
I should learn German because I have German. I have German blood. I have it. let me tell you this story because I think you'll find it fascinating. The spelling of my name, Brenniger, is
Hmm.
only dates back to the turn from the 19th to the 20th century when a a great great aunt got upset with some members of the Brenniger clan here in North Carolina, and she changed the spelling of the name and
Hmm.
replaced the first vowel, which was an I, with an E. So, and they're Brennigers all over northwestern North Carolina. So they're and but growing up, we never met any of these people because they were kind of excommunicated from the family based on her judgment. So in 2017, I went to Austria to go to a Peter Drucker Global Forum conference,
Hmm.
and I decided I'm going to spend a month traveling around Europe, and I'm going to go see people that I've met through social media. So I fly into Amsterdam and rent a car, and I go see this woman that I met, I think through Tribes, but I'm not exactly sure. But I think there's a Tribes connection to her, and she lives north of Stuttgart, and she works for Deutsche Bank. And so I go there, and I'm going to spend a couple of days, and she takes me up to Marbach, where she was born. And Marbach's this little medieval village, and you walk up, and in the and the streets are really narrow. It's a classic German medieval village, and there's a clock tower there, and you can walk through or drive through the clock tower, and on one side of the clock tower is this probably 10-foot statue of a German soldier from the First World War, and on the other side is this concrete frieze of names of the men from the village who served during the First World War. And there is the original spelling as we knew it from the 1730s when Weithbrenniger came over from Germany. There is that name spelled in that version of a fellow named Gottlieb Brenniger.
Hmm.
And so for the first time in my existence, and probably for most of the Brennigers that I know, we found out maybe that this is where the Brenniger clan or the Brenniger family had its origin, somewhere there on in north of Stuttgart, in that beautiful area of what would we call that, Western Germany.
Yeah.
So
Southern Germany already.
yeah, southern. So it was so learning to speak German would be something that I'd like to do, but where how to fit that into all the other things that I'm doing is another story.
Well, it takes 1 hour a week and 10 minutes every day.
I know, and I'm struggling to find those 10 minutes every day to get the other stuff that I need to get done. But
Yeah. So
that's not
if you ever have the time, and you know who to ask. Yeah.
that's right. You're exactly right. So so when we post this, if you would send me information, I could put in the show notes so people know how to contact you if they're interested in speaking German. So we can put that in there, and
Hmm.
we'll link to your LinkedIn site, um, and you send me a picture of you, um, and we'll post our conversation um, on YouTube, and then I'll do a separate thing on Substack, and we'll celebrate our friendship going back almost 20 years, which is
Right. Yeah, sure.
so. So I thank you for coming on, and thank you all for watching. I hope that I hope you take away from this that um, friendship, genuine friendship, lasts even if you don't have regular encounters with one another. Because it's been 17 years since we last talked.
Just once established, does not break by itself. Yeah.
That's right. And that's a lesson for us all, I think. And I'm glad to see you again, and we'll talk some more after we're done here. So thank you all
My
for
pleasure.
watching the Eddie Network podcast, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.